There are moments in automotive history where something arrives that doesn't simply update a category. It fractures it entirely, splits it into a before and an after, and forces the rest of the industry to stare into the gap and wonder how they missed it coming. The 2027 Lamborghini Urus SE is one of those moments, and yet the most fascinating thing about it isn't the number on the horsepower readout or the figure printed next to its top speed. It's the quiet, almost philosophical contradiction sitting at its core, because Lamborghini, the brand that built its entire identity on theatrical excess and unapologetic combustion fury, has just delivered its most emotionally complex machine yet, one that can prowl through a city center in absolute cathedral silence, and then, within the span of a heartbeat, summon enough violence to embarrass supercars that cost the same or more. And the question that lingers, the one that doesn't leave you once you've sat with it long enough, is whether this is the wildest super SUV ever built, or whether it's actually something far more dangerous than that. Because wild things you can prepare for. What you cannot easily prepare for is a machine that is simultaneously civilized and savage, restrained and ferocious, responsible and completely, unapologetically extreme. Stand beside the Urus SE at any angle, and what strikes you first isn't its aggression, it's its resolve. The design carries itself with a different kind of confidence now. A leaner, more aerodynamically deliberate presence inspired by the Revuelto and the legendary Gallardo lineage, two vehicles that defined different eras of what Lamborghini could mean. The front fascia has been redrawn with slimmer matrix LED headlights that don't shout for attention the way previous iterations did. They simply assume it, cutting through darkness with a precision that feels almost surgical. The bonnet extends fully now, eliminating the harsh shut lines that always betrayed the utilitarian underpinning of its predecessor, giving the entire front end a sculpted, seamless quality that reads as genuinely handcrafted rather than assembled. The hexagonal air intakes remain, because at Lamborghini certain geometries are sacred, but they've been optimized, breathing with purpose rather than performing theatrics. And at the rear, the redesigned diffuser and spoiler combination generates 35% more downforce at high speed than the previous generation, which is a figure that sounds engineering clinical until you consider what that actually means at 200 kilometers per hour. It means the road reaches up and holds the car down with an authority that transforms confidence into something closer to absolute trust. But this is where things begin to shift, because the Urus SE's real story isn't written in its bodywork, it's written in what lives beneath it. The powertrain is a genuine philosophical statement, disguised as an engineering decision. A re-engineered 4.0-liter twin-turbocharged V8, already a masterpiece of emotional theater in its own right, has been partnered with an electric motor integrated directly into its 8-speed automatic transmission, and the result is a combined output of 789 horsepower and 701 pound-feet of torque delivered in a way that doesn't feel additive, as though two separate systems are merely cooperating. It feels unified, it feels like a single force of will. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour arrives in 3.4 seconds, and a top speed of 312 kilometers per hour is available to those who choose to seek it. But the numbers, as always with truly great machines, are the least interesting part. What matters is the texture. The way the power arrives with absolute confidence rather than drama, the way the transition between electric torque and combustion fury is invisible to the driver, seamless in the way that only deeply considered engineering can achieve. You don't feel the system switching. You simply feel the car responding to your intention, as though it understood what you wanted before you fully understood it yourself. And the 25.9 kilowatt-hour battery pack changes the ownership experience in a way that no specification sheet can fully communicate. Up to 60 kilometers of pure electric range means that the Urus SE has a version of itself designed for the school run, for the city commute, for the underground car park of a hotel where silence isn't just preferred but expected. It arrives quietly, glides through urban environments with an almost meditative calm, and carries zero indication of what it is genuinely capable of. And there is something deeply sophisticated about that duality, something that speaks to a buyer who has matured beyond the need to announce themselves at every moment. The drama is still available, completely and unconditionally. It is simply no longer mandatory. Step inside and the cabin has evolved to match the intelligence of the powertrain. The digital dashboard now incorporates hybrid-specific telemetry that displays real-time energy flow in a way that feels genuinely fascinating rather than bureaucratic. You become aware of the system, thinking around you, redistributing, recovering, optimizing. The sustainable premium materials used throughout the interior don't compromise the sensory experience that Lamborghini interiors have always delivered. If anything, they deepen it, adding a layer of considered intentionality to the craftsmanship that feels entirely contemporary, aligned with a generation of luxury buyers for whom sustainability and exclusivity are not contradictions but complements. Because the real story may actually be this: the Urus SE isn't a compromise. It isn't Lamborghini apologizing to the future or reluctantly accepting the direction the industry is moving. It is Lamborghini arriving at the future on its own terms, with its own velocity, and proceeding to make the future feel more Italian than anyone anticipated. And yet, even as the SE settles into the landscape as one of the most complete performance machines on sale today, intelligence coming out of Sant'Agata hints that it may not be the most extreme version of this story. Arctic testing has revealed spy photographs of a variant that Lamborghini has not officially discussed. A track-sharpened, stripped-back evolution, rumored to push output beyond 800, possibly approaching 900 horsepower, replacing heavy body components with extensive carbon fiber to offset the battery mass, fitting solid spiral springs in place of the standard air suspension for a rawer, more connected driving experience, and adding aerodynamic elements, a larger rear spoiler, expanded cooling vents, that signal a machine designed not for roads but for circuits. The 2027 Urus SE Performante, if that is what arrives, would not simply be the wildest super SUV ever built. It would be something that genuinely has no precedent. Starting at approximately $263,000, the standard Urus SE already occupies a realm where most vehicles cannot follow. The anticipated Performante variant is expected to clear $280,000, and at that figure, the conversation changes, because this belongs to drivers who have never accepted the idea that compromise is simply the cost of practicality. People who refuse to believe that a vehicle capable of carrying 4 passengers in genuine luxury should be asked to make peace with mediocre performance. Buyers for whom the phrase family car and supercar were always meant to coexist without apology. This is for the person who wants the school run to feel exactly as purposeful as the open road, who demands that every encounter with their vehicle carries emotional weight, who understands that true luxury in 2027 is no longer measured by excess alone but by mastery, by the intelligence with which a machine uses everything it has. What the Urus SE represents, in the broadest possible frame, is Lamborghini's clearest signal yet that the future of performance isn't a retreat from everything this brand has always stood for. It is an expansion of it. Electrification here isn't a leash, it is an amplifier. And that distinction matters enormously because it suggests that the vehicles coming from Sant'Agata in the years ahead will not sound like concessions, they will sound like revelations. The segment will not be the same because of this machine. The expectations of what a super SUV can be have been permanently and irreversibly elevated, and the industry, every manufacturer who believes that practical performance means acceptable performance, is now chasing a standard that Lamborghini just raised while barely raising its voice. So the question worth sitting with, the one genuinely worth discussing, is this: does the Urus SE succeed because it is the wildest thing Lamborghini has ever built? Or does it succeed because it is the most intelligent? Drop your answer below, and if you believe the Performante variant can make an already extraordinary machine feel genuinely otherworldly, let that conversation begin here.